on this computer.
Okay. Hi, welcome on behalf of the Rest Centers and Kayla Garcia Alice. I am a social service placement worker, and today's workshop is how do I know that I am in an abusive relationship? I think this is the most vital question that one should ask themselves when they're in a relationship. Um, it's important to know the signs and know what you're getting into before you get to a point where you feel like there's no return. But if you do get to that point, there is a return. I wanted to put these up here because these are things that abusers say. And if you resonate with them, then you should listen up closely and evaluate your relationship. Does this sound like something you're going through? So, intimate partner abuse definition, we define domestic abuse as patterns of incidents of controlling, coercive, threatening, degrading, and violent behavior, including sexual violence in the majority of cases by a partner or an ex-partner. And there's more than one form of abuse. There's technological, spiritual, emotional, verbal, sexual, mental, financial, and physical. We have technological abuse. So this form of abuse includes control over technology and stalking of a partner. It can include hacking into a partner's email and personal accounts, using tracking devices in a partner's cell phone to monitor their location, phone calls and messages, monitoring interactions via social media, demanding to know partners' passwords. Spiritual abuse. Signs of a spiritual abuse can include ridiculing and insulting the other person's religious or spiritual beliefs, prevents the other partner from practicing their religious or spiritual beliefs, uses their partner's religious or spiritual beliefs to manipulate or shame them, forces the children to be raised in a faith that the other partner has not agreed to, use religious texts or beliefs to minimize or rationalize abusive behaviors such as physical, financial, emotional, or sexual abuse, and or marital rape. Verbal abuse. Verbal abuse is an emotional abuse which uses words or threats to gain and maintain power and control over someone. Examples include gaslighting, judging, blaming, name calling, threats, withholding, manipulation, false accusations. Mental abuse. Mental abuse can be acts that can cause someone to feel insulted or demeaned or wear down someone's self-esteem. So some of the examples include unreasonable demands, being overly critical, wanting a partner to sacrifice needs for others and causing them to doubt their perception, which is also known as gaslighting. There are numerous ways for someone to inflict abusive behavior onto others, but the results can be devastating. And that's something that we want to highlight in this workshop because it takes a toll on your mental and your physical and every part of you. So other examples of mental abuse can range from bullying, withholding kind words, nagging, passive aggressive backhanded compliments, verbal abuse, and mental manipulation. Emotional abuse. Emotional abuse can include verbal assault, dominance, control, isolation, ridicule, or the use of intimate knowledge for degradation. So this includes name calling, insulting, blaming the partner for everything, extreme jealousy, intimidation, shaming, humiliating, isolation, controlling what the partner does and where the partner goes, and it also includes stalking. Sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is not about sex. It's something important to remember. It's not about sex. It's about the power that the person can withhold over another person practicing acts of sex. This includes any sexual behavior performed without the other partner's consent. Forcing a partner to have sex with other people, which would fall under human trafficking. Only engaging in sex when they want it. Pursuing sexual activity when the victim is not fully conscious or is afraid to say no. Hurting the partner physically during sex. And coercing the partner to have sex without protection or sabotaging birth control. We're going to move on to financial abuse. So, financial abuse is any behavior that maintains power and control over finances and constitutes financial abuse. This examples include inflicting physical harm or injury that would prevent the person from attending work, harassing partner at their workplace, controlling financial assets and effectively putting partner on an allowance, damaging a partner's credit score. Some of these examples may not seem like it's an abuse, but it is. Making them like, let's say for harassing partner at their workplace, they know that they might fall under they might be a victim to getting fired, and that's why they do it. So it's important to know these little things and look out for them. And finally, we come to physical abuse. All of the types of abuse and forms of control that we have seen are important to highlight because they come in steps. You will, until you get hit, you might not realize that you're actually getting abused, but you should know the types of abuse and forms of control that there is, because it's not just physical abuse. It's important to note that there's so much more forms of control before the physical comes. So, the definition for physical abuse is defined as any behavior in a intimate relationship like hitting, slapping, punching, kicking, burning, strangulation, damaging personal property, refusing medical care and or controlling medication, coercing partner into substance abuse, and use of weapons. We want to talk about the cycle of abuse, and we want to ask you the question: does this sound like the cycle that you're going through in your relationship? We're going to start off by the first step, which is building tension, and then the incident of abuse, then reconciliation, and then calm. We're going to go through these four important parts of the cycle and highlight what it looks like so you can evaluate your relationship and see if you are in that type of cycle. First, we're going to go with building tension. So, abusive partners often lash out in response to external stressors. So, it may not be something that you did at all, it's just something outside of the home. So, anything can fuel tension: family issues, trouble at work, physical illness, or fatigue. Sensing the simmering tension, you might try to find ways to placate the abusive partner and prevent the abuse from happening. You may feel anxious, on your guard, and hyper alert to their potential needs. You might alternate between tiptoeing around them, trying not to set them off, and making an extra effort to provide physical and emotional support. Then comes the incident of abuse. The abuser eventually releases the tension on others and therefore releases the tension on you. Attempting to regain his power or her power by establishing control. It can include any range of forms of control or abuse that we saw. It could include insults or name calling or threats of harm or property destruction, attempts to control your behavior, sexual or physical violence, or emotional manipulation. The incident of abuse does not have to be physical. It could be any type of abuse. It could range from technological to spiritual to emotional to mental. It does not have to be physical. And then we go on to the reconciliation part. After the incident of abuse, tension gradually begins to fade. In the attempt to move past the abuse, the abuser often uses kindness, gifts, and loving gestures to usher in a honeymoon stage. And I wanted to input this quote because it's very common. It's something that every abuser says. I'm sorry, I will never hurt you again. These words are important to note because once you're in the reconciliation stage, that person that is hurting you in any type of way or trying to control any area of your life will try to make it seem like everything is all right. And it's not all right. And we have to be aware of that. You may love the person, but again, is this relationship a good relationship that you should be in? Is it a healthy relationship? And on to the calmness. So, to maintain the peace and harmony, both parties generally have to come up with some sort of explanation or justification of the abuse. So, therefore, some examples include apologize while blaming others, point to outside factors to justify their behavior, minimize the abuse or deny it happened, and accuse you of provoking them. This is where they turn the tables on you, the victim, the one going through it. The abuser always wants to minimize their actions, diminish any type of wrongdoing because they know they were in the wrong, but they don't want to admit it. They want to continue this control over you, and that's not right. So here's we're going to go to a slide that why do I stay? Why is it that even though you are recognizing the signs that you're in an abusive relationship, why do you stay still? So, we're going to go into the first one that we want to highlight. Society normalizes unhealthy behavior. So, people may not understand that their relationship is abusive. We can see on social media, on movies, on TV, where a lot of norms in society have become, oh, let's be the toxic girlfriend or the toxic boyfriend. Um, and it's become something normal and something that society sees that, oh, if that person does this, that's okay because they love you or they're just being the toxic funny. No, it's not all right, and we should be able to see what's wrong and what's right in a relationship. Another one would be damaged self-worth. This comes through time of abuse. um, Damaged self-worth is a result of the forms of control we spoke about over a long period of time. It's something that the abuser works on you and then therefore results in the damaged self-worth. We also go on to fear. You are fearful for what they might do if you go. You are scared that they might hurt you, hurt your family, hurt themselves, because a lot of abusers like to make sure that you know that they might kill themselves when you leave. It's a form of control for you to stay because they're not going to do it. And you must realize that. Another one is a big factor, children. It's very important when you have children with your abuser. You want to stay, you want to make a happy family for them. You want to pretend that this abuse does not exist. Another one would be isolation from family and friends. They totally isolate you. An abuser tries to isolate you from your family, from your friends. They don't want you to be around other people. So you don't see that you are in an abusive relationship. So they have more control over you and they enjoy that. And that isolation makes you not want to go because you feel like you have nowhere to run to. And you'll always have somewhere to run to. That's important to know. Another one is immigration status. There's a lot of people who don't have papers, and that's what an abuser may hold over you, saying that they're going to bring you to, well, let's say like in the United States, they have like a ICE, and like here they have the immigration officers and everything with that. Um, and one big one that we want to highlight is the next one. It's family and upbringing influences on how we may act or what we may take in a relationship. So your history with your family, what you saw your mother take or your father take or your grandmother, if there was a pattern of abuse in all the relationships that you see, you're not going to notice that you're in an abusive relationship. You are going to take the exact same thing that your mother took or your father took or your grandmother took or someone close to you. Because our parents and our family members, our relationships with them is our first and most influential example on how to interact and communicate in a relationship. How love was shown between parents is influential on the child. So you model your behavior off of theirs. Their words become a voice in your head and they influence your attachment style. This is all important to note because those taking what you have learned as a child and what has been influenced and been embedded in you is important because you will take it on into your teenagehood, your adult, and most importantly your adulthood and in your relationships. The next one would be shame. Victims of intimate partner abuse are often filled with shame because they may have been a person one time where they were confident in themselves, full of life and everything, and then to have someone gain control over them and their life and everything, they feel shame of letting it happen. This is not a shameful situation. You should never feel in shame for someone doing this to you. And it's important to know that. It's highly important to know that because even though you're in the situation, man or woman, you are strong enough to recover from it and you're strong enough to get out. And lastly and not least is lack of resources. You, as the victim, may have become dependent on the abuser. You, like we said, we go back to financial abuse. They have maybe not let you go to your job. You may have gotten fired. They control your financial assets. They know they have everything control over that. So you have nothing. You have no money, you have nowhere to go. You feel like there's nothing for you out there because you're dependent on that person now. And that's where lack of resources come in and why I stay or why do you stay, right? So we're going to go on to the next slide. And do you need a safety plan? It's important. So if you don't know what a safety plan is, a safety plan is a set of actions that can help you lower your risk of being hurt by your partner. It includes information specific to you and your life that will increase your safety at school, home, and other places that you go on a daily basis. So here is a screenshot of the hotline.org. We have this interactive guide to safety planning, which I wanted to include in here. This specific link will take you to a website. This website will ask you questions. So they do like an introduction. What's your name? Like all that stuff. Who do you live with? What's your zip code or what school you attend, your home, your school, your job, technology, your information about your partner, information about your children, information about your emotional set, like how you are emotionally. And the most important thing to highlight of this an amazing website that you can go on it if you have access to a computer, of course, or you have access to a phone, because not a lot of people going through domestic abuse or intimate partner violence or intimate partner abuse have full control over their technological use. But this is just one example. The browser, if it'll tell you to exit, it'll let you exit the browser and it will completely erase your tracks of being on this website. So they'll never have, so let's say you're using your partner's computer and he's away and you're using it to do your safety plan. That person will never know that you were on that website, which is highly important to know. I also wanted to show you, sorry about that, but I also wanted to show you an important example of a safety plan. Okay, so this is an emergency safety plan for victims of domestic violence. It's not only domestic violence, it's also about like other types of abuse. And if you want to have a safety plan, it's an introduction. It basically tells you what is intimate partner abuse. And then this is an important document that you'll keep in a safe place and out of the reach of my abusive partner. The table of contents include an emergency escape plan, so your personal safety plan, safety when preparing to leave, and safety in my own home. Creating a safer environment in your house, at work, in neighborhood, on your job, planning in rural areas, and then creating a safer environment with a restraining order, or if you're a teen in a violent dating relationship, safety with the court order, child safety plan during a violent incident, what you can do. Here's some kind of, they tell you examples of the things that you can do when you are going through a situation. So, like, contact your local police services, right? Request a police escort or ask a friend. Something that you want people to know and keep in advance. So you have a list of items that you should try to set aside, right? It'll tell you what types of items to set aside. So like your passport, your birth certificate, your vaccination records, your driver's license, your social service identification, your work permits, a picture of your spouse or partner, a health cards of yourself and your family members, some social insurance cards, phone cards, banking cards, anything that you can have handy. They'll tell you this is like a checklist that you can do. And here are things that you can do in advance. It'll tell you. So like open a bank account in your name and arrange that your bank statements or other calls be made to you, or arrange that mail be sent to a friend or a family. Changing your address with Canada Post. Saving as much money as you can out of groceries if necessary. Plan your emergency exits. Think about the safe areas in the house where there are no weapons and where there are at least 2 ways to escape. So you're planning and rehearsing your exit strategy. Consider getting a safety deposit box at the bank. Hide extra clothing, house keys, car keys, money, etc. at a friend's house if you do. And then here is where you fill out your personal safety plan. If you decide to leave, I will, and then you fill it out. You put where you put your keys. So let's say that you hid them very, very well, and you want to remember where. This is where you would put it. And then it keeps going on. So it gives you like tips. So like here is a tip for if you have been sexually assaulted, that you should do the following. Do not take a shower or a bath. Keep all the clothing that you were wearing at the time. Do not clean up the house or the apartment. Go to the hospital and call the police. And it's very important because these steps will help you be able to press charges. That is if you want to, right? Here's more like step 2. So your safety when preparing to leave, and it goes on and on like that. And it's such an amazing document, and such an important resource to use when you are creating your exit strategy or safety plan. You always want to be safe. And this types of document, the interactive safety guide online that we were just seeing, is important to know, because you can see and you can make your own safety plan, and that's important. Sorry, we're going to go back to the presentation to finish it off. So here again, we're seeing this, and this, I put the link at the bottom so everyone can go to it. Do you want more resources? I know that a lot of people don't want to call another place or don't want to speak to someone, and that's what the safety plan is for. That's something that you're doing. But if you need more help, you need more resources, you need more assistance in anything that you need, we have various types of resources available. Now, we have the Assaulted Women's Helpline. It gives you 24/7 crisis counseling and referrals to shelters, legal advice, and other help. It is available in 200 different languages, including 17 Indigenous languages in Ontario, and those are the numbers that you can call. There's the Victim Support Line. The multilingual Victim Support Line provides services to victims of crime across Ontario and in most languages spoken in the province. Victims of crime their families have access to a wide range of services, including counseling, financial assistance, and other support. We have FemAid. It's a 24/7 anonymous crisis counseling and referral services to Francophone and French-speaking women. And we have Talk for Healing. Get 24/7 culturally sensitive crisis counseling advice and support for the Indigenous women and their families living in urban, rural, and remote communities, both on and off the reserve. These different resources are for, of course, you see Francophone and Indigenous women, and we have more of a diversity. And I wanted to put all of this in here because everyone is susceptible to domestic abuse or intimate partner abuse and intimate partner violence. You want to get resources, there's resources out here and you can get help. So we come to the conclusion, and the question that I want to ask you that is watching this, after learning all of that, after analyzing all of that, do you think you are in an abusive relationship? I just wanted to say that if you think you are, get someone to talk to someone. It's important to get out before you get to a point where you may not feel like there's no return, or you may feel that you get to a point where you just can't anymore, because you can, and you will, and this is something that you will overcome. It may not seem like that today, but you will overcome it. And it's important to know that. Thank you for listening, and thank you for letting me share.